Welcome back. This is Tim with the University of Vinyl, and yes, it is that time of year. I've watched several of the end of year wrap ups and top tens and best ofs, and I keep waiting for a few of my favorites to show up in these various videos, and they're not showing up. So I thought to myself, it's time to right that situation. And today I am releasing my top 10 new release albums of 2021. This is all new music, save for one live double album, a long awaited and kind of a surprise album that we got back in, I'm going to say October, but more about that later. This is one of two wrap-up videos that I'm planning for the year end. I'm hoping to film my second one tomorrow. As we sit, we're on the weekend. It's December 19th, and I'm flying back to Michigan for a little holiday break very, very soon. So hoping to get that other video filmed tomorrow. If not, I still have some time in the final week of 2021, and that video is going to be my top 10 used vinyl finds of the year. There may be more than 10 albums featured. I'm going to try and go back and revisit 10 used vinyl digs that I did, in which something of serious note personally for me came out of the visit. Whether that was a special album I've been looking for, or maybe two or three that just blew me away. So stay tuned for that one. That's going to be a special one. But I also think there's a lot to learn from today's video. If you didn't make a lot of new purchases in 2021, maybe you trust my judgment and use this as a bit of a guide for some new purchases as we move into 2022. There was a lot of fantastic music released in 2021, and we're going to get started right after this. It's not a commercial break, it's that intro. Maybe I'm going to have to cut a new intro in 2022. To be determined. Coming in at number 10 is the Steely Dan live double album, Northeast Corridor. This was released back in September, I believe, maybe October. Don't quote me on that. When I first reviewed this album a few months ago, when it first was released, I mentioned that I wasn't happy with the cover art. That opinion still stands. I think it's kind of a lackluster effort. We could have gotten something much more interesting and compelling. But if we talk about what's really important here, that is the music. These recordings were captured during the 2019 tour, so of course this is post Walter Becker. There is a very touching in memory of Walter Becker dedication on the back cover. There's the back cover, by the way, which is actually a stronger image than that front cover image, in my opinion. Back to the music. 2019. Donald Fagen is in surprisingly very, very strong voice during this tour. Parts of the album were captured at the Orpheum, the Beacon Theater, of course, in New York, Mohegan Sun, where else? The Met in Philadelphia, and that's it. Looks like 4 different venues. This is basically a greatest hit set, but it's the first live album we had from Steely Dan since what was Alive in America, which was kind of a very short set. I think it only came out on CD originally. I actually kind of like a couple of the songs that were reworked kind of radically. Most interestingly enough, I remember Reelin' in the Years, they replaced the lead guitar with saxophones, if I'm remembering that correctly. But kind of a strange live album, 1995. Here we are, decades later, and out of the blue, we get a surprise double live album from Steely Dan. The important thing about this is it's really documenting this incredible, the Steely band, the Steely Dan band, and some of the great players, you know, people who have been with the band for years, like John Harrington on lead guitar. But then we also have the latest newcomer to the band, Connor Kennedy, a fantastic gunslinger guitar player as well. He played guitar on that very, very short-lived Donald Fagen and the Night Flyers solo tour that Donald took in the winter-spring of 2017 when Becker was quite ill and they couldn't tour behind Steely Dan. So here it is. This very well could be the final album credited as Steely Dan, unless they decide to, you know, dig into some archival live vintage performances like from 1974. Maybe they'll dredge up some soundboards, which could be very interesting. But who knows if Walter Becker's estate and Mr. Fagen can get together on that kind of an idea. They're, you know, first of all, maybe we need to have some AAA analog re-releases of the entire Steely Dan catalog. That's, you know, something that needs to happen. Anyway, I've talked a long time about this. This is number 10. It's got some fantastic performances. The songs are very much replicated, true to form as far as the original versions that appeared on the original albums. In some cases, they've done kind of a cool little intro vibe moving into the song. Couple highlights for me. I loved Bada Vista. I loved Glamour Profession. You know, we don't hear those later songs live because they never were performed live on wax, but now we have that. Things I missed the most from Everything Must Go, the final studio album, we think, from Steely Dan. Really, really cool to hear that live, and the band did an incredible version of it. Some of the funniest lyrics from Becker and Fagen that I've heard in a long time. And there it is. So, Northeast Corridor, Steely Dan live, highly, highly, highly recommended. Coming in at number 10 this year. Coming in at number 9, I have Leftover Feelings. This is a John Hiatt solo album produced by Jerry Douglas, and Jerry Douglas's band backs up Hiatt on this album. Very, very interesting. It was recorded in Nashville, where both of these guys live now. Jerry Douglas is a legend. You know, he is a dobro player, and very, very, very fantastic dobro player at that. Hyatt's voice is aged like a fine, I'm going to say a fine Tennessee whiskey. And interesting thing about this group of songs, there's no drums. So it's all some really, really good players working on a great set of John Hiatt songs, fantastic lyrics, and I really, really highly recommend this album. It sounds fantastic, really nice pressing. There were a few variants that were released. I ended up with this kind of purple, blue marble thing, but you know, I am a huge John Hiatt fan, and this is one of his stronger albums in later years. Leftover Feelings. Coming in at number 8 this year, probably one of the biggest surprises of the year when we think about a new release coming from a band who had been dormant for 38, 39, 40 years. Of course, I'm talking about Abba Voyage, and love that cover. And this is a subdued set of songs for the most part. There are several up-tempo tracks that, in my opinion, are better. I prefer them better. Is this the recoming of Super Trooper? Absolutely not, but it can't be denied. You know, Benny and Bjorn are two of the greatest composers in history. They are pop architects. This is a fantastic pop album. The two ladies' voice are in surprisingly fine form. It sounds like they haven't missed a step. There is a lot of poignancy on this album. I think that's the word I'm looking for. And emotion. And I recommend this thing highly. It is what we call a grower. So the more times you can listen to this, you're going to be rewarded and things are going to resonate more. But this is a fine, fine album. Quite a surprise this year. Abba Voyage coming in at number 8. The headline on this number 7 album that I have ranked for 2021 is the star's father was in prison for years, I think drug charges, and had finally been released from prison. And Annie decided that this album was going to be dedicated to her father, and a lot of the songs in various ways and forms were inspired by her father. But one of the important things to remember about the album is Annie Clark grew up listening to her parents' record collection. And in that collection were classic titles from, that 1970s string of incredible Stevie Wonder albums. Steely Dan comes to mind as well. Other bands of note also. And I'm talking about St. Vincent, Daddy's Home. This is a fantastic group of songs drenched in mid-70s R&B, funk, soul, classic rock. Very good playing on the album, and some incredible songs on here. Again, you will reward yourself if you throw this on every other week until you really start to really kind of get the vibe of what she's trying to do here. Strong set of songs coming in at number 7. Daddy's Home, St. Vincent, that retro artwork and styling. Really enjoyed this. Daddy's Home.
Come on, come on, come on, give me one more try. Oh, searching, baby, searching for my baby. I'm searching for my love. Searching for my baby. Searching for the one that I adore. Searching for my baby. When I find her, searching for my baby. I'll never let her go now, baby. No, 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 no.
2021, was it a year of kind of reunions and reawakenings and things getting restarted? Possibly that could be one of the themes for the year. And coming in at number 6, I've got that classic pairing. 14 years down the road, they managed to get back together, came up with a strong group of songs that they recorded in Nashville. Robert Plant, Alison Krauss. This is Raise the Roof. This is an indie record store cover variant that kind of caught my eye. And, I saw these guys perform on CBS Sunday Morning when the album was released last month. I think it came out in November. My release dates are a little fuzzy today, but anyway, I like this album a lot. I don't think it's quite as strong as Raising Sand, the 2007 release from these two, but T-Bone Burnett is back at the boards again. Some fantastic Nashville session players, and just sounds amazing. Robert Plant's voice at this point in time, man, this guy, he's staying in the range that he should be. he is aging gracefully, gracefully, gracefully. Alison Krauss with her angelic vibe. This is really strong. Where do I have this? I think this is at number 6 for the year. Top 5 of the year. Let's start. This is Barn, released a couple weeks ago. Neil Young and Crazy Horse. This is Crazy Horse Mach 3. Back with Nils Lofgren in place of Pancho San Pedro on guitar, piano, accordion. Nils is a perfect foil to Neil Young. If we go all the way back to Tonight's the Night, another fantastic Crazy Horse album with Nils Lofgren on it. You can make a couple comparisons here, believe it or not, with this album going back to Tonight's the Night. There is a song on side 2 which has got a Tonight's the Night vibe on it. That song is one of the better Neil Young and Crazy Horse songs ever. It's called Welcome Back. It is an epic, nearly 8-minute long song. Some fantastic lyrics, some fantastic vibes by Crazy Horse. Awesome playing off of each other between Neil and Nils on guitars. That is the standout track from this album as far as I'm concerned. I love that cover art. I will admit, when I first heard Song of the Seasons, which was a pre-release single that Neil put out, I was worried. I thought it was a bit of a weak song. Yeah, it's a slow-moving, melancholy, emotional song. Neil has got that kind of breathy, weaker voice, in my opinion. It didn't blow me away, and I thought, oh man, this is gonna be maybe a sleeper. But give this thing some space. The second song on the album is an absolute barn burner. Heading West, supposedly it's dedicated to Neil's mother, and it's about Neil Young's looking back at his journey west to California when he left Toronto and the bars of Toronto and moved west. Eventually, the famous story is he hooked up on Sunset Boulevard with a couple of other guys, and what happened is Buffalo Springfield happened. Put this on a few times. You're going to be impressed. I was, and this is why I've got Barn, Neil Young, and Crazy Horse as the number 5 album of the year. When we talk about Dinosaur Jr., we can talk about a lot of churning guitar, a lot of dense interaction between Jay Mascis, Lou Barlow, and Murph on drums. Sometimes all of this interaction gets lost in translation, and you have maybe too much sludge and not enough clarity on a Dinosaur Jr. album. Jay Mascis's recent solo albums have blown my mind. He has brought out a lot more acoustic as far as now everyone, if you know Jay Mascis, you know that acoustic is a relative term, right? Because he's got so many pedals that he uses and can put in electrified effects onto an acoustic guitar quite amazingly well. This is Sweep It Into Space, and the guys brought in an outsider to co-produce the album to fantastic effect as far as I'm concerned. That's Kurt Vile. Kurt Vile is a great solo artist in his own right in today's music world. And he contributes a lot of acoustic guitar, a lot of backup vocals on the album. I love this album. This is strong enough for me to be number 4 on my list. I've seen Dinosaur Jr. several times. I've seen Jay Mascis once right before pandemic lockdown on his previous Take Me to the Movies or See You at the Movies solo tour. I'm a big J Mascis fan. This is a really nice return to form for Dinosaur Jr. Even Lou Barlow's got a couple really good, compelling, hard-driving songs, bass-driven, in that whirlwind style that Lou Barlow has. Strong album, number 4 for me. I've got a purple vinyl variant on this limited edition purple vinyl on the Jaguar label. Sweep It Into Space. Speaking of pedal effects and guitar wizards, it's time to talk about the third best album of the year, in my opinion, and that is Adam Gersiel's The War on Drugs. I Don't Live Here Anymore. I Don't Live Here Anymore is a fantastic release from this Philly band. You know, The War on Drugs, they're a Grammy-winning band at this point in time. I don't think this album is quite as strong as 2017's A Deeper Understanding, but it is damn close. And the songs on this album are a little more condensed. They're not quite as meandering, to good effect, I think. I think this is probably the most accessible The War on Drugs album to date. If someone was just going to dip their toes in, there would be a lot to love here if they've never heard this band before. Kind of crazy packaging. You know, they did this kind of unipack thing. But all of their albums have fantastic artwork. There is a beautiful guitar on a couch. It brings to mind kind of winter. But what we have with this album is kind of the light of spring shining through, in my opinion. Where am I pulling this from? I don't know. This, of course, has got the incredible I Don't Live Here Anymore single on it. He brought in Luscious, the two talented ladies from the band Luscious, to sing backup vocals on this, and that is one of my favorite tracks of the year. I have hit that on repeat in my car on Spotify many times. This album, Adam Grandersiel, I got in trouble. I butchered his name on. I did a little more of an in-depth review of this album when it came out, and someone yelled at me in the comments about not pronouncing his name correctly. So sorry about that. But anyway, again, the songs are a little less meandering. There's a little less of that repetitive psychedelia happening in these songs. They're more condensed. Believe me, there's 2 or 3 of these songs where you're wishing they would have kind of kept on going with maybe another verse, maybe another stanza, maybe another extended fade out that we didn't get for some reason. But again, this is a grower album. You have to give this repeated listings. Like any War on Drugs album, it's going to reward itself eventually. But right out of the gate, this sounds fantastic. I thought this vinyl pressing was a little compressed. If we particularly look back to the 2014 and 2017 albums, I think both of those on vinyl sound a little bit stronger, a little bit better than the production value on this album. But saying that, this is a fantastic album. If you are halfway interested or know about the War on Drugs, this is a must purchase. This band, Adam Grandersiel, wears Bruce Springsteen, Tom Petty, Mark Knopfler, Toto as well on his sleeve, and but he makes it his own. The band is incredible. There's some incredible playing on here. The bass player and the drummer, the interaction on that rhythm section is amazing. The drum sounds on this album are fantastic. That is I Don't Live Here Anymore, the War on Drugs. When it comes to Fleetwood Mac politics, I am strongly in the Lindsey Buckingham camp. I'm sorry, but Stevie Nicks, what she did, when right before Fleetwood Mac toured last time, if we want to even call that band that toured Fleetwood Mac, I don't know. That was a Fleetwood Mac cover band. And anyway, I thought it was ridiculous and very petty what she did by kicking Lindsey Buckingham out of the band. We'll see if these guys ever kind of get together again. But one thing that I celebrated this year was the release of the self-titled Lindsey Buckingham album. Fantastic 180-gram record cut by Chris Bellman at Bernie Grundman Mastering. This album sounds amazing. It is a very strong set of songs that Lindsey basically had in the can 3 years ago. This was actually the cause of the breakup of Fleetwood Mac. He wanted to delay the Fleetwood Mac World Tour and promote this album that he had ready to drop. It was in the can, and wanted to do a 3-month solo tour, which he is currently doing right now, 3 years later. So this whole thing led to Stevie Nicks saying it's me or him. Of course, Mick Fleetwood sided with Stevie Nicks, and the rest is history. And then Buckingham had a bypass surgery, heart health scare. He's looking great. I've seen a lot of the videos on his current solo tour. He's going to be in Boulder here in Colorado on Monday. And he sounds great. His voice has kind of recovered. There was some worries about damaged vocal cords from the effects of the surgery. And for by and large, I mean, things have to be tuned down slightly on some of those iconic songs, but he sounds great, and it's great to have Lindsey Buckingham still among us making fantastic music. This album, I'm looking at side 2 right here and just kind of remembering some of the songs. Dancing is a very atmospheric, moody closing to the album. Time is fantastic. I love Blue Light. Power Down, one of the better Lindsey Buckingham solo songs ever. And, you know, I've got a standard black, beautiful vinyl record here. Scream and I Don't Mind were two of the lead kind of songs that were pre-released, and they're both very strong. On the Wrong Side is something that could have been lifted from maybe even Rumors. This is a really, really strong album. If you like Fleetwood Mac, if you like Buckingham, this is a great place to start if you don't have any of his solo albums or haven't checked him out lately. One minor thing, there's a lot of pre-programmed and synthetic drums on the album. I would have liked to have a little bit better, a little more of a live feel, but it really doesn't take anything away from these songs. It's a fantastic album. It sounds great. Again, cut by Chris Bellman, creme de la creme. There it was, a little snippet from John Mayer, and this is my #1 album of the year. It is Sob Rock, John Mayer, a total lovingly look back to, let's say, 1987. I love the packaging on this thing. Look at that nice price retro sticker front and center. I've got the Target variant, the Coke bottle vinyl. This was pressed at Sterling Sound by Ryan K. Smith, and it sounds amazing. Kudos to Mayer and his team on the marketing of this album. It came out on cassette. There is some incredible merch involved with the album, but the music is what's important here. And, you know, similarly to Adam Granduciel from War on Drugs, Mayer really looks back to the 1980s for inspiration for this album. That little snippet of Wild Blue, that guitar tone and some of the guitar figures in that song, the total vibe of that song could have been lifted from the Dire Straits self-titled debut album or Communique. That's how kind of uncannily familiar it is in your mind if you know that music. Of course, there's two huge songs on this album. Last Train Home. I reviewed this album when it came out. Check out the video on that. Last Train Home. I was on a business trip. I had a 3-hour drive, and I literally hit return or replay on Last Train Home. I think I listened to it 14 times. It's such an earworm. Mayer has got Greg Phillinganes from Toto fame. He worked with Michael Jackson on Thriller. He is a synth keyboard maestro. He's responsible for a lot of the retro vibes and effects and keyboard sounds on the album. Also along for the ride is Lenny Castro Jr. I think he was a member of Toto for a while. So we get some late 80s era Clapton tone on this album. There's a lot of Don Henley stylings going on as well. The Knopfler, Dire Straits influence, and of course, some of these songs sound a lot like they could have been lifted from Toto 4, in particular Africa. That is co-produced by Don Was. This is a fantastic album. I'm calling it the feel-good album of the year. It's a summer album. It feels like a summer album. And if you kind of poo-poo Mayer and think he is a tabloid creature, that was 10 years ago. You know, put this on, give it a listen. It is well worth your time. There's some fantastic playing on here and some fantastic songcraft. Very, very strong album. It's my number one sob rock John Mayer. Hey, there you have it. Those were my top 10 new releases of 2021. I had 9 studio albums and 1 double live album. The Steely Dan Eastern Corridor double LP. Fantastic release. Finally, we get a great live album from Steely Dan. Thank you for watching today. Stay tuned. I'm going to have a special, another top 10 episode all about my used vinyl hunts from 2021. My top 10 visits to used record stores on trips or random forays out into the wild whereby I came back with something really memorable, something really collectible, and I think something worth talking about. So thank you very much. Stay tuned. Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you again. Please subscribe. Please like the video if you did like this. It always helps to get more people finding out about my channel and lifting things up here. So, goodbye.